Hi everyone, welcome. Today we'll be reviewing how to calculate density, volume, and mass, along with some practice problems. Let's go ahead and get started. So you'll either be given the density and mass, and then you have to solve for the volume, or you'll be given the density and volume and have to solve for the mass, or you'll be given the mass and volume and have to solve for the density. I like to use the pyramid method as a guide. Inside the pyramid, we have density, mass, and volume. If we want to find the density, we divide mass by volume. If we want to find the volume, we divide mass by density. And if we want to find the mass, we multiply density times the volume. The best way to understand the concept is, of course, by practicing. So let's get to it. Our first problem says we have a cake with a mass of 500 grams and a volume of 2,500 cubic centimeters. What is the density of the cake? Well, we're given the mass of 500 grams and we're given the volume of 2,500 cubic centimeters. If we look at our pyramid, it tells us to divide mass by the volume to get the density. So the density is going to be 500 grams over 2,500 centimeters cubed. If we punch that into our calculator, we get 0.2. And we don't need to convert any of the units here, so we keep it as is. So the final answer is grams over cubic centimeters. A beaver has a piece of wood with a mass of 6.0 grams and a volume of 12.0 centimeters cubed. What is the density of the wood? Well, we're given the mass of 6 grams and the volume of 12 centimeters cubed. If we look at our pyramid again, it tells us that density equals mass over volume. So we're going to do 6 grams over 12 centimeters cubed as our volume. If we punch this into our calculator, we get 0.5 grams over centimeters cubed. The density of the chocolate is 8 grams over centimeter cube. If the sample of chocolate has a volume of 25 centimeters cube, what is the mass? Here we're given the density and the volume, and all that's missing is the mass. If we look at our pyramid, it tells us to find mass, we need to multiply density times the volume. So our density is 8 grams over 1 cubic centimeter, times our volume, that's 25 cubic centimeters over 1. If we look close, notice our centimeters cubed cancel out. If we punch this into our calculator, we get 200 grams. And remember to always double check to make sure you wrote down the correct unit. Here, we're left with grams, so our answer is going to be in grams. The flowers that were picked had a total weight of 820 grams. The density of the flowers packed together is 5 grams over centimeters cube. What is the volume of the flowers? Well, we're given the weight that is translated to a mass of 820 grams, and we're given the density of 5 grams per cubic centimeter. We just need to find the volume. So if we look at our period, to find the volume, we divide mass by density. So we get 820 grams over 5 grams per cubic centimeter. We cancel out the grams and we're left with cubic centimeter. So if we punch this into our calculators, we get 164 cubic centimeters. The book illustrated to the right has a mass of 96.4 grams. Determine the density. Okay, so here we clearly are given the mass, but we're not clearly given the volume, which is what we need to determine the density. Luckily, we can figure this out with our illustration to the right. Remember, volume equals length times width times height. And as a side note, it does not matter the order you calculate the numbers in. The answer will always come out the same. So we plug in our numbers of length, width, and height and multiply them, and we get 163 centimeters. And let's not forget to cube this because we are multiplying centimeter times centimeter times centimeter. So 163 cubic centimeters. Okay, now that we have our mass and volume, we can finally calculate our density. Now, if we punch in 96.4 divided by 165 into our calculators, we get a very large number. How do we know how many digits to put into our answer? Well, we use significant figures. The lowest number of significant figures in our problem will be the number of significant figures in our answer. So both 96.4 and 165 have 3 significant figures in their numbers. So our answer is also going to have 3 significant figures. So our answer is 0.584 because 584 are our 3 sig figs or significant figures. Also, don't forget to round the last number if needed. So for example, if it was 0.5846, then our answer would be rounded up to 0.585. You have a graduated cylinder with 150 ml of water. You add a piece of iron that weighs 25 grams into the graduated cylinder, and the water level rises to 425 milliliters. What is the density of the piece of iron? So we know that density is mass over volume, and we clearly are given the mass in grams, 25 grams, but we're not given the volume of the iron. So we need to find the volume first, then plug it in to get the mass. The volume of the iron is going to be equal to the difference in the water volume without the iron piece and with the iron piece. So we know the volume before the iron was put in was 150 ml, and the volume with iron was 425 ml. If we calculate this, we get 275 ml. So our density is 25 grams over 275 ml. If we punch this into our calculator, we get this large number and some. How many significant figures will we have in our answer? We have 2 sig figs and we have 3 sig figs. So our answer will have 2 sig figs total, those being 9 and 0. But then we have to round the 0 to 1. So our answer is 0.091 grams over milliliter. That's all for today. I hope you learned something new. Thanks so much for sticking around. Until next time.